Hey everybody. So I haven't worked on this at all for the show, and today I just feel like doing that while we're in this quarantine. I'm just kind of rotating vehicles and picking what I'm working on. So today I am going to work on starting to build the floorboards for the 47 Ford. So the way these cars work, and I'm not sure what you can see from there, they were all metal floors up to this point. And then typical of this era, even the Model A was this way. The piece that went between where the passenger driver's feet would be and the firewall was wood. And so I'm going to replicate that. I thought about making it out of steel, but I think I'm going to make it out of wood. So it's going to be different because I've got this low car shifter in here. The floor is cut some to fit this turbo 350 transmission in here. And so I'm just going to start making cardboard templates and start working on building the floorboards here that need to be built. It's going to be probably about 6 pieces would be my guess before this is done. Some of it may be metal, I'm not sure yet, but it's mostly going to be wood. I may do the hump rather than doing that in wood. I may do that metal. We'll see. I'm just figuring it out as I go. But the first thing I'm going to do is focus on this part right here on the passenger side. And that's going to probably be a 2-piece wood floor, and it'll probably have a couple of metal pieces to hold because there's an angle like this. And so it'll be a board here and a board here with some metal strapping underneath it to hold it all together. And I'll probably put some kind of a heat shield because the exhaust is right here. We don't want that wood to get hot and catch fire, obviously. But that's what I'm working on today. So there'll be some slow motion capture here of time-lapse capture of what I'm doing here on this 47 Ford. And this will be the first episode on the YouTube channel for this car. I've been working on this car for, oh my goodness. I think I bought it in 2011? No, 2007. Sometime in 2007 is when I purchased this car. I've worked on it for a couple of years, real heavy. Got it to the point that it's at now. Had to do the chassis. My buddy Jim did the engine. I had another friend of mine do the transmission. I just was trying to expedite. I did the chassis. I did all the body work, all the fabrication. My buddy Matt helped me out a little bit with different parts of it, particularly the roof. This car had, it was a northern Michigan car, and the roof was caved in from snow. So I dollied it all out and got it back in shape, and then he took the time to fill it. And all of that wasn't because I couldn't do the work, it was just simply because I'm trying to expedite and get things done at a more efficient pace, plus getting to spend some time with some buddies when we work in quarantine. So all I have left to do on this car, I have all the glass cut. I need to get the door seals and window glass seals. The fenders are done. I just got to prime them one more time and block them one more time. They're ready for paint. The hood is still upstairs. That's been untouched. That's still in the original blue. Well, not the original blue, but it's still in the blue that this car was when I got it. Got most everything to put it together. I just haven't taken time to work on it for a while. I chip away at the fenders once in a while, but that's about it. So that's what I'm working on today. So we'll do some time lapse here as you watch me run around like a little squirrel working on building some templates on a cardboard and then cutting wood for the floorboards. Okay, so got the template cut out. Looks like this. Yep. So didn't realize there was a little bit of a hump in the floor there. I've got plenty of room, so I'm going to make a steel band for this part right here once this floorboard's done. So I'm going to make this out of one solid piece of wood. My transmission hump here may not be quite big enough, but we'll figure that out as we go. And so then my plan is now, because it's changing, is once this is in there, the floorboard comes down like this at an angle, and then there's another board. So I'll do 2 small boards in this area here on both sides, and then from the hump I will end up making a steel something or another to go over that shifter eventually. Probably not going to mess with that part right now, but just want to get this part done. Part of my reason for this is I don't have a gas pedal, I have a pull cable, so it's like I'm driving a demolition derby car. I'd like to get a gas pedal in this thing, but I got to get a floor in it to figure out where to put the gas pedal first. Got several options. Speedway makes one that's below the floor. Low Car makes one, but it's not below the floor. And my goal on this is to try to keep the firewall completely clean. So I'll take you over there and show you. But I filled, well, my buddy Jim and I probably filled 50 holes in this dashboard or in this firewall before I painted it. And I don't want to be drilling holes back in it, partly because I'll be hitting welds. There could be some small bits of mud in there that could chip, and this firewall is perfect. And so I want everything under the floor. So the master cylinder and brake boosters bolted onto the frame. There's nothing that goes through that firewall at all. So I'll take you over there and show you that. So if you look at this firewall, there used to be a million holes in here, like I said, probably 50 holes. And I filled every one of them, welded them shut with little coins of steel. And I do not want to drill holes in this firewall to make things fit. So the only holes I left in here were, there's one right here. Believe it or not, this car actually has a hood release cable, and so that's what that's for. And then a couple way down low where I'm running my wires through and things like that. But yeah, it's perfectly clean, and I don't want to change that. So everything's going underneath. So while I'm here, I'll show you the motor. It's a 350, probably a 355. It's got a mild cam in it, maybe a Lunati cam. I don't remember now. Doesn't lump at all. Need to buy some new valve covers for it. But stock manifolds. They're off of a Chevy truck, and this one on this side is actually a passenger side manifolds used on the driver's side to clear the steering box. I went with a traditional straight axle on this. I bought a Chassis Engineering, I think it was, front end kit for this with a drop tube axle. Bent the wishbones in to fit, different transverse leaf spring, shocks, all that stuff. So that's what's on this car, just for a little update. I did leave the antenna in because I'm a musician, and even though I don't listen to music much, I may want to at some point, and so having an antenna there, and it's a hidden antenna, so it means it retracts its power, so when you turn the radio on, the antenna comes up. Cleaned the body up a lot, took a lot of trim off, stuff like that. This car is just as straight as an arrow, and it needs to be finished, and I need to be driving it. I've had it for far too long to not be using it. So anyway, back to the floorboard. Okay, so we got it cut out. I did not cut the notch out up here yet. I want to try fitting it first and see what it works like. But for the most part, this should fit, hopefully. Measure twice, cut once. Or if you're me, cut twice, measure once. Whatever. Anyway, so let's see if this fits. Okay, so my judgment call was right. I'm glad I didn't cut that notch out there. This plywood that I'm using is only 1/2 inch, and it's flexible enough that it'll make that little bit of a bend. So the next piece here, and I'm not going to bother to video this, the next piece here is going to be, there's holes specifically for these floorboards to bolt down. So I need to get those holes drilled in this wood in the exact location to be able to put those bolts in. So I have to find the bolts that are going to fit those holes, and then drill holes, little bigger holes, and then I'll use fender washers so I have some give. But get those holes approximated, get them drilled in there so I can drill this thing down in there and bolt it down and get it tight and see how it fits. The other thing I've got is it's still hitting on that hump. So unfortunately, that may be an issue here that I'm going to have to figure out. But we'll get it in there first and then decide how much more I have to cut to make that work. So onward and upward. So we'll see you in a few minutes. So the floorboard is in. First part. Now I got to start working on the second part. So I think I'm going to do that chunk right there next. The trickiest one's going to be the one over here. So we'll leave that for last. This one over here should be pretty straightforward. So I got to take all this back out of there. It's a bit tight right there on the hump. It's still hitting the transmission. So that's got to be cut more, but it doesn't concern me too much right now. I'm just trying to get everything test fitted and in. So there we go. Moving forward. Okay, so I've gone about as far as I can. I got the floor in over here and got the floor cut for over there. The piece is there up top. It all needs to come back out again, get painted. I've got to make a tin strip joint to help support this. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that. I've got some ideas. I'm just got to ponder that a bit. The piece is cut over there, but I have several reasons why I'm not putting that in right now. Number one is the gas pedal, as I mentioned. It's got to be an under the floor pull gas pedal. So I need to get online and see what I'm going to order for that. The second thing is the reservoir for the master cylinder is right there. Probably going to mount that up inside the car here somewhere. I'm not sure yet. So I've got to figure out where I'm going to run the lines or the hoses up to that. The exhaust pipe is right under there. There's a lot going on under there. So I've got to spend some time pondering that as well. But the piece is cut and ready to fit and bolt in. So it's big progress. It actually has a floor for the first time in the 13 years I've owned this car. And the beautiful thing about this that I made is if I do decide that I want to go ahead and make this floor out of metal, which I might later, I have a template. I can just use this. Once it's done, lay it out, cut the tin, bend it, good to go. Use a bead roller to give it strength and so forth. So it's a win-win all around. I'm probably going to leave it the wood. I like that vintage look. But I was thinking about it after I said that earlier. I've assumed this has a wooden floor in the front like some of the older cars did. Maybe it didn't. I don't really care. I've never really truly found replacement parts for this. That's why I've assumed it's wood. It could have been metal, but I can't find it. And like I said, at this point, it's going to be all covered with sound deadening. I do want this. I thought about welding metal in there and making it solid, but I really like the ability to access this thing. Multiple reasons. The way this thing is built, you cannot pull the transmission out of this car without pulling the engine. But if I need to access something back here, I really like the idea of being able to just unbolt this. The brakes are down there. The fuel pump is, the fuel pump's up there right now. Eventually it's going to be in the back. It'll be an electric pump because there's no room on the frame up here for a mechanical pump. But there's just a lot there that I think might be beneficial to have accessible with that floor anyway. So I didn't want to weld something in there. So anyway, that's where we're at on the 47 Ford project. I guess a little history I haven't given, and I'll wrap this up since this is the first episode. This car actually came from the neighbor from my grandparents. I actually worked on this car with him when I was a kid. It had a flathead in it. Helped him get it running and did some stuff, and then the car just sat forever. So when I sold my Model A, I was looking for, I wanted a fat fender. I wanted a 40 sedan or a 40 coupe. I couldn't find one at the time. I asked him, I says, do you know where I can find one? He said, what about that 47? So I went and looked at it. We made a deal on it. a super deal because like I said, he's been a friend since I was a kid. Great guy. So I ended up buying the car. It was I own that house now, so it's 500 miles away from here. And we went up there and trailered it home, and I started working on it. Was sending him pictures back and forth, and I did several things he didn't like. He hated red. Sorry, Johnny. He hated Chevrolet drivetrain to Ford. Sorry, Johnny. But he was still thrilled that the car was getting put back together again and something was going to be done with it. So, you know, there's still a lot of work to do on it. I don't know if it'll hit the road this year because I have the Oakland over there I'm trying to finish. I'm loving working on my Challenger. I've got a couple other cars out there, the 68 Dart, that actually I got to go work on that next because it blew a triangle line the other day when I had it out on the road. So I work on this as I can. I've got to get some more paint work done on it, but it's going to be a fun driver when it's done, and I'm getting kind of excited about getting it on the road. So anyway, thanks for joining me on the very first episode of My Car's Garage 47 Streetrod. Later.